and get involved and be here. But if not, that's fine. Don't worry. Don't sign up. Well, no, do sign up. Of course, we want you to sign up. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, I want to introduce, I'd like Chris and Alex to introduce themselves. This is quite an interesting position for everybody here, because what you've got to understand is Leeds sort of represents a sort of northern powerhouse, if you like. And we are from the Yorkshire Heartlands, Leeds. And Chris and Alex are both from, certainly the businesses are in Leeds. I don't know whether you're personally from Leeds, but you can tell us in a second. And sort of two giants in their game that compete against each other have agreed to come on and chat about their views. And I think that's a really interesting position. So imagine your fiercest rival, your closest competitor sitting next to you and you're going head to head, but it's not quite as aggressive as that. And I think it's a little bit more fun. So thank you for joining us, guys. And Chris, would you like to go first? Would you like to give us a quick introduction as to who you are and tell us a little bit about SearchLaboratory?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much. I was going to say gloves are off for this one, aren't they, Alex? But maybe gloves are on is the better analogy. Yeah, so I'm Chris Attewell. I'm CEO of SearchLaboratory. We're a Leeds-based digital agency.
Sorry, Chris. I don't know if it's just me, but if you sit a bit closer, we'll get clear. Yeah. Better. Thank you.
Any better?
Perfect.
Right. Yeah. So we're a Leeds-based digital marketing agency. About 140 people between our head office here in Leeds and our office in New York. We do integrated digital marketing, so a pretty even mix between B2B and B2C. We do search, social, display, content, analytics, CRO, and various other things. We do most things except building websites. We do all the bit that gets people to your website and gets them to convert. We don't build the website. We do a lot of international campaigns in a lot of languages. And I'm from Sunderland originally, just if you want to do the northern thing. There you go. Been in Leeds for 20 years, so count myself as a Leeds.
Why did that come about? Why did you move to Leeds?
Oh, for a job, straight from uni, yeah. First job, and then stayed. I mean, it's not that far. It's 100 miles up the road, but yeah.
Good, cool. All right, and also, you sort of played down the sort of scale of the business, and Alex, I want you to sort of play to this as well. I mean, Search Labs has been around for a long time. I remember Ian Harris started. Was it 2005, 4?
Yeah, we're coming up to 15 years actually on the nose. 1st of November is our official 15-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah, and back in those days, the market was totally different. So I think it's fair to say that I've sat and watched Search Labs as a business sort of go through this ascendancy, work with some of the brands that I look up to. I know for a long time you're working with Burton Snowboards, which was one of my sort of favorite brands. I'm sure it's anybody that's into snowboarding or snow sports will obviously heard of Burton. So watching very closely. But I think I saw a monumental step shift when you moved into your skyscraper in Leeds. That's an awful grandiose term.
In Leeds.
Yeah,
it is a nice building.
Okay, all right, Alex. So you guys tell us who you are and I sound like Cilla Black there. Where you from?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Alex Blaikley. I'm here as I work as media campaign director at twentysix. twentysix is a full-service digital agency, so we do everything from affiliates to search, paid and organic, to display, programmatic, so reaching connected TV, out of home, and PR digital or digital PR even. And on a second floor, when we're in the building, we have a 80-strong production team, so building websites, UX laboratory, CRO team, and we're part of MSQ. So MSQ is a group which has a number of agencies and is run out of London. We have a London representation, and with MSQ, we can actually work alongside some of the agencies there who deliver above the line. So through twentysix, you can kind of get everything you need. The key is about making decisions, I think. So, having the ability to deliver everything isn't always the answer. So I think that's something that will come out today. Me personally, I'm not from Leeds. I am from the north, but albeit North London. So, and historically, I've worked, you know, and I think this is where, you know, certainly in my role as media campaign director, having worked previously in print, so started off in Telegraph and then moved to Sky and then Google. So before I worked in agencies such as iProspect and 26. So I mean, I think that breadth of experience has given me a really good sort of transition between traditional media and digital. I'm a massive fan of TV and print even. And I think, but again, I want to challenge us. You know, that's part of the challenge for today, isn't it? Because that's the question: where's the money going? Where's the marketing budgets going? But I think interesting for me, you know, when I worked at Google, I did actually do a talk for Search Labs.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So if you search for me on Google, you'll find that's one of the things that has come up. But actually, you know, I think, you know, just you know, the gloves aren't off at all. I think, you know, I think for us, this is about an opportunity to talk about marketing, to make it interesting, to help people on the call and beyond make decisions, because I think that's the key. And I think if anything, you know, one of the questions about webinars, there you can't move for lack of, you know, for advice and case studies about how people are doing stuff brilliantly. But actually, well, I think there's a real value to what we're doing here today. So thank you for inviting us.
Not a problem at all. And thanks for coming. And 26 as a business, from my perception on the outside looking in, it's been one of those businesses. And for all of you guys listening in, you know, both Search Labs and both 26 are businesses that I personally greatly respect. So I don't know whether you can take that as some sort of endorsement or what, but I mean, I genuinely have looked at from the outside in on your businesses, and there are others. It's not saying just you guys, but I sort of genuinely sort of respect the work that both of you guys do. So well done. And you know, 26 as a business is certainly got a very cool edge to it, and I like that. It's very contemporary and it's very now, and I think that sort of comes perhaps with the fact that you are that full service agency that perhaps you know is quite, it brings that cool to town a little bit. Anyway, right, okay, let's get on with it. So then I'm Adam Oldfield. I'm the managing director of Force24. Have been for a lot of years now. We were founded in 2010. We are one of the UK's fastest growing marketing automation platforms. We disrupt the industry with free training and support for life, so we humanize what we do. Now, but before we start, we know what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about how the pandemic is going to influence how marketers spend, how consumers engage, etc., etc. I want to perform a bit of a social experiment. Now, I know that if I want you as the guys at home to do something, I have to ask you 6 times to do it. So let's run through that as quickly as possible. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Everybody ready? So what I need you to do, there's going to be 3 questions coming at you. That's twice now. And in those 3 questions, 3 times, I want you to just answer as quickly into the chat as possible. Sam is then going to tally up the answers and give us a bit of a response, and hopefully that's going to help shape our conversation today, or put at least a little bit of light to what we're saying today. So I've got 3 questions. That's 4 times, or is that 5 times? I'm not sure. And I'm going to ask you in just about 10 seconds, and I'm going to give 10 seconds for you to answer those 3 questions. So let's get underway. Are your fingers on the keyboards, on the chat right now? And I hope this works. So first question is, I just need a yes or no answer. Who is at home? First question, who is at home? Yes, no, yes, no. Sam, awesome. Thank you very much, guys. That's brilliant to see. Keep it coming, keep it coming. That's not a yes or no question, smart ass. You know what I'm saying. Okay. So, Sam, if you would not mind, if you could just count that up behind the scenes and give me how many yeses, how many nos. Right. The next question. Are you ready? I'm not going to have to go through the 6 times thing. We know that this is questions. So, this is a yes/no answer again. From a human perspective, those of you that are working, well, not those of you working from home, do you believe that this transition you've made to perhaps working more often from home is better from a human perspective? For me, my family, my kids, etc. So yes or no answers. Go. Yes, no, yes. You can see there the ones that have got young kids. Definitely not. I went through that. It was a bloody nightmare. Yeah, I get your point. Yes, no, family. Yeah, I get it. Workplace, no, I get it. Yeah, that was actually my next question. So thank you very much. Third and final question coming at you right now. Do you feel, as a result of working from home, I feel less connected to the commercial world? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Hard to say, really, whether that, I'd be interested to see what Sam said. What Sam says. Yes, it's bloody awful. Really? Right. Okay. So while Sam goes away and just gives the stats on that, I'm saying this, Sam, you are there. You are doing this, right?
Yeah, I'm here working away in the background.
Excellent, thank you. Whilst you're doing that, we're going to just quickly jump into a little bit of the background as to what we've seen. And to help that, what I've done is I've collated some charts from the ONS. I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this. And this is literally going to be, quickly point your eyes at this, because I hope what it's going to do is give us some narrative around what the guys are going to be talking about in a moment. So this is what the ONS believes the situation that we're in right now. Well, actually, this is to the end of August, so slightly out of date, but forgive me for that. So share screen, and here we go. Sharing screen now, coming at you. So hopefully you can see my screen, right? So the first chart, I omitted to put the title on here, unfortunately. The first chart is showing the amount of time based on Google's tracking data as to where we spent our time as a proportion to normality. So you see where it's a percentage, 100% down means we're 100% not doing that anymore. So retail and recreation, obviously, you know, you've got the peak of the lockdown. Grocery and pharmacy, parks, wow. Transit, stations, workplaces, and residential. Residential is me going around to your house, you come around to my house, me just generally spending more time at home, whatever it may be. So interestingly, very interestingly, what I believe has happened here is the fact that parks and, retail and recreation, as far as I'm aware, where I live may be a little bubble, but the shops pretty much opened up in July, June, something like that. And so I could go into town for the last 3 months or so, pretty much on a Saturday if I wanted, and do what I wanted to do, pretty much unencumbered. You know, but the reality of it is we're still at this probably 30% down from physical. Grocery and pharmacy, obviously that gap's curved, you know, perhaps it's not as easy as just nipping to the shops as it is to get my groceries delivered, fine. Parks and retail, parks, look at that, well-being's off the chart. That's really positive to see. Transit stations still way down. I'm spending less time on the motorway. I'm spending a lot less time in Costa Coffee. Not picking on Costa, I do like Costa. Workplaces, look at that. And you take that as a sort of, you know, you take retail and recreation as sort of being the big one that took the hit. Workplaces have stayed low. That's really interesting. And residential, whilst we saw a big increase, obviously we couldn't swap around in retail in everybody's homes and whatnot, but we could sort of jump around a little bit. But that stayed pretty high. It's more than we were doing pre-lockdown. But guys, is there anything that you think that from those charts that you can infer from what you've seen there, what you can see there? Throw it out there for you. Chris, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think with some of the things that we've seen within retail, for example, I mean, if we're talking about where people go physically, like into retail stores, then obviously that's been down. But you see the reverse trend with online retail, where that's all people had to do. So that obviously grew massively. Even within that, though, there was quite a difference in performance between pure play online retailers and like more traditional bricks and mortar online retailers who also had stores. So like those had stores and also a website, obviously all the stores closed and their websites went crazy. Whereas, yeah, they were up a little bit, but they weren't up as much.
Yeah.
So I kind of, you know, that the demand has got to go somewhere. There was an obvious drop off in demand for retail as people were, you know, the uncertainty was there and the caution around spending. But as soon as people started to, you know, get their mortgage holidays and weren't spending money on travel or all of those things,
So first thing, Amazon reported a 26% increase in sales in the first quarter. That was the darkest quarter that most businesses saw. And you know, that's interesting to see that the money went somewhere. It has to go somewhere. So I always find it's like a balloon. You squeeze it here, it pops somewhere else. Alex, I don't want to labor these charts, but is there anything that you want to add on here about what this means from a traditional marketing perspective?
I think it raises the question of omnichannel, really. You know, Chris talks about that a little bit, but I think we've got clients who have both physical, and I think, yes, the story has been about e-commerce, but actually it's about the balancing of both, because at the end of the day, they're businesses and they can't afford just to switch off their stores. And so they need to put that money, they need to put those targets somewhere and deliver a good user experience and at the end of the day, a product. Interestingly, what you said about Amazon, because you know, the reason Amazon paused the, you know, Prime Day is always usually July, isn't it? So the reason they paused Prime Day or pushed it back rather to whatever it is in a couple of weeks' time is or next week, 2 weeks actually, isn't it? Is it's not because they decided that was the right thing to do. It's just because they decided that they didn't need to have a Prime Day in July because everyone, including me, was shopping. So you know, and obviously they saw that demand, and what they're seeing now is, and again, it's really confusing the consumer. The amount of consumer data we're seeing about, you know, what people are thinking at the moment is just really hard. We work with GWI, so Global Web Index, which is a really good source of insight. But even that sometimes is quite sort of ethereal. And I think what we're seeing from what we're hearing from our clients, and also we're seeing in the market, is that people are pulling their budgets forward because they're seeing that consumers are going to be spending sooner in the run up to Christmas than probably later. So that's the interesting thing.
That's an interesting observation. So what you're saying here is that this right now has been the Christmas budget. We've been spending Christmas budget right now.
Well, I think, again, it depends on retailers. I mean, with the interesting conversation we're having, you know, some of them are just not doing Halloween. So they're not doing Halloween because you can't go out physically, you know, you can't go and trick or treating, but actually, and they don't want to be seen encouraging that. But yes, I think what we're seeing, because the consumer evidence suggests that with all the you know, the stuff that's yet to land, and I think, you know, Chris talked about, you know, people still spending, and yes, there are categories and areas of audiences who are still spending and still looking at holidays, and we can see that from search trends. But there are, on the whole, we're seeing businesses react to what they're expecting consumers to do. So this is, you know, this is all very interesting. It's a snapshot, but what we're going to see is that people are going to bring their budgets forward, and they're going to anticipate consumers spending Christmas money and buying their Christmas presents in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Nice. Okay, so look, guys, I know that we've got a blend of B2B and B2C, and I think what I tend to do is tend to always lead with the B2C, because that tends to feed the B2B anyway. So don't think if we're just talking about B2B, it's B2C that we're totally neglecting the B2B, because B2B is a big part of everybody's world here. Interesting. I found a nice little chart: coronavirus impact on radio advertising. Right. So take all of this into account. My commute's gone. I am going to the park. My commute's gone. I'm not going out as much. I am spending more time at home, or I'm actually not now. I'm spending less time at home. So look what's happening. Radio advertising's pretty much dropped off a cliff for 2020, but is expected to return in spades and go beyond by up to 15% in 22-21, which is an interesting prediction. I don't know whether that's slightly loaded by Statista who did this. It could have actually been fed by data of people that want to see things recovering quicker than perhaps they are. But interesting nonetheless to demonstrate that radio as a channel, even though it's an in-home, has taken a hit, which is interesting. And that's probably because of, well, we'll come on to the points as to why that'll be in a moment. Right, working from home. I also saw this one. I thought this was an interesting one. And I think what this is doing is it's all building a picture for us to build on in a moment. And this is about how did parents handle the work from home, look after the kids with their time split during the day. And what they're saying is work was done in the morning, developmental childcare was done in the afternoon. So that basically was saying that B2B speak to them in the morning, B2C speak to them in the afternoon. Now, what I think has happened is we were still in a hangover. Yes, the kids have gone back to school. Yes, they are. But I'm still working from home. I am actually working from home. And so I am still working from home. So the kids hit the dining room at 3:30. And that's when everything goes ballistic. So that's still a very realistic life and very realistic proposition for a lot of parents out there. So it's important to understand that this chart, we have this peak here at what looks to be about 10 o'clock. And then a dip at what looks to be about 1, where another peak at about 3, drop off a cliff. So I thought that was a really interesting chart. The next thing, I want to get off this and I want to get into you guys now. But the next thing which I thought was interesting was this is the GDP. And GDP is the statistic that feels like real life. This is the one that makes whether I feel rich or whether I feel poor is closely linked to the UK's GDP. So as you can see, certain industries, manufacturing and pharmaceuticals, are the winners in this. I wonder why that is. And the rest of the economy on the whole has taken a significant dip, and we're currently at 11.7% down. That recovery is expected to be slow and continue. So everybody's on the way back up. Even accommodation, where we're still massively down, we are on the way back up. This will be an interesting chart next week when they release the October numbers, because is accommodation really going to continue to grow? Can't see that it is. Is hospitality in general and food services going to go? No, I can't see that it is. Everybody's at 40% capacity, so how can it possibly grow? Anyway, this was an interesting thing about furlough, who the age of people that got furloughed. So a lot of the millennials, a lot of the Generation Z, they got furloughed. So that budget has been hit. People's pockets have been hurting. The majority, the sort of well, what looks to be sort of 30s to sort of 60s, big category obviously, were the least age bracket to have been furloughed. So in terms of the pocket, in terms of that spend, they may have been hit, but less likely to have been hit than the young kids, which is the government's primary objective. The final chart that I quickly wanted to show you before we start getting onto other stuff is where the UK debt situation is. I did a quick calculation, and through CBILS loans and bounce back loans, the UK has given out 49 billion pounds in business support. 49 billion pounds. Now, what that means is that there's a lot of money sloshing around in society right now. So whilst we have this situation where July is the largest debt to GDP ratio since the 60s, and it's at 100%, which means that technically we're almost insolvent. It means that we owe more than we earn. But you can see we've been on this sort of steep rise for a while, so that's not scary. But the point is, I think that money is still in society. It's not dissolved. It's not a constant state of atrophy with this money. It's sat in bubbles. And the bubbles are within, I think, this is the B2B win. So from Force24's point of view, we were offered loans, we were offered deferment schemes, we were offered discounts by our suppliers, all sorts of things, and we offered lots of incentives back out to our customers. Now, the thing is, that created cash. And a lot of businesses are sat on cash. And the way you get out of trouble is you spend cash. And what does that do? That creates things moving. So that's a positive situation. Now, I wanted to frame it before we get into it. So no more boring PowerPointy things. Now straight on to Sam. Have you got me the numbers back on that social survey just then?
Yeah. So first question was how many are working from home, and it's a 79 at home, 21% at work. It's quite interesting. 1 in 5 essentially still at work.
Okay.
Second question was 67% yes. Do you think the transition to remote is better? 33% no. And then the last question was roughly split down the middle. Do you feel let's get into the commercial world? 48% said yes, 52% no.
Do you know what? That's wonderful. I'm really pleased that worked out like that. And thank you for that. And we can have a chat about that later on. So very quickly now, what I want to move into is just quickly talking a little bit more about some channels. So I'm going to very quickly give the Force24 view of how our marketing budget has adapted and how we plan to adapt our marketing budget. And then I'm going to pass that back over to you guys to tell us what you're seeing from your clients' point of view, what they're doing, where they're putting their money. So Force24 in 2019 2019 was very heavily reliant on physical experiential events. We were at the TFMA, we were at the B2B marketing, we were at the AdTech, we were at Prolific North, we were all of these events, and we were trying to hit as hard as we possibly can. And our marketing budget, the events budget in 2019 was just over £300,000. Now, 2020, we pretty much have wiped that away. We've not done, we're actually at 100,000. So there were some early budget, there's some early shows, and there has been some digital events that we've paid to take part in. But that budget of 300,000 has now receded to a budget of 100,000. Now that's interesting because that was a big lead source for us. So what we've done is we've decided at Force24 that we're going to reinvest that additional budget back into brand. So we are spending the money that we've saved on experiential to understand what our customers want. How do we speak to you better? How do we develop solutions that work with you better, that help you more, that make you a more powerful marketeer? So our view on this one, our own view, is that right now what we've done is we've developed more effective digital channels and digital relationships. But how do we capitalize on those digital channels without the brand? So we've said that, no, actually, we've got to understand you guys more. We've got to learn more about you. We've got to convey that message better. And then we'll turn back to our digital playbooks and we'll start executing. One of those examples of that is in 2019, we had a webinar budget of precisely 0. We actually did not ever, as a business, other than our customer-facing success webinars and our sort of, we call them sort of weekly efficiency webinars. I think they've got, I can't remember what they're called now anyway. Really good webinar, but I don't run them. Anyway, productivity webinars, that's it, bloody hell. So we run our productivity webinars in-house, but the budget for everything was 0. We've now, so far this year, with investment in the tech, investment in placement, investment in the production costs, investment in support marketing, hit a budget so far of £45,000 for webinars. And we continue to spend that. So we probably expect that a good chunk of that missing budget has gone into the promotion of webinars. Now, this obviously can be done cheaply or it can be done expensively. But when you're in a business, you inevitably find ways to spend money. And so far, we've managed to blow 45 grand on webinars. And actually, to be fair, one of those costs, we bought a few hundred pairs of these Force24 sunglasses. Which if anybody wants them, I think we've still got a few hundred pairs left. So that's not. Here's
a question for you, Adam. How are you getting those? Because normally if we were to do something like that, things like, corporate gifts and things, you find out where people are based, you call reception, you send it to them. Everyone's at home. How are you getting your Force24 glasses out to homes?
This is it. So we've been asking for people's addresses, which just feels a little bit, I don't really like that. I'd rather send it to work and then you can figure out how to get it later on, whatever. But we're not about storing consumer data. So it's the very last. We'll write it physically on an envelope before we store it in our database. So that you're right. That's a really tricky point. But the point that I want to make before I hand over to you guys is that the Force24 marketing budget, we've continued on a steady track for paid and SEO, digital channels. Obviously, our email channels call to us. We've continued on a fairly steady track, not necessarily growing it quickly, but where we've pulled back massively is experiential. We've reduced our budget. Obviously, that 300 grand does take into account any supporting print and promotional material. And we're going to spend a huge percentage of that back into brand. And then we're spending a majority of that what's left on promoting webinars, owning our own events. So that's our view. And so guys, how have you seen this? Let me put this first of all to you, Chris. And I'd like you to answer it in the context of, has the spend and performance levels been uniform? Have you seen people doing what I'm doing across businesses, different sectors over the last 6 months? And are there any industries or verticals that have been performing better or differently in this vein?
Yeah. I guess before we do that, just to give you a bit of insight into our marketing mix, we're very similar to yourselves, Adam. We did loads of events. It was always a big part of our spend and a really good one for lead generation. And similar to you guys, we're obviously not doing them this year. We also have invested more into brand in a slightly different way. We always have produced content. We've stepped that up a bit. We're using LinkedIn as a key channel at the moment, and we're doing it as a bit of a mix, really, from a brand promotion exercise and also promoting key individuals within the company as, you know, industry experts, across the channels. Yeah, so that's how we've chosen to reinvest some of that money. The thing of the gift, sending out gifts, we did quite a lot of that as well, and that had a decent budget behind it. Similar to yourselves, I'm not really that comfortable asking someone on LinkedIn for their home address. So yeah, it has been a change in that sense. With the clients that we work with, it's really been a mix. We work a lot across B2B and B2C, and then within B2B and B2C, you've got a whole mix of different industries and sectors and all the rest of it. So if we take B2C first, we were working with some quite large travel clients who, I mean, they just stopped spending. I mean, that you're just not going to be booking hotel rooms or cruises, whatever it may be. So I guess there's not even much to say on that front around what they were doing differently, because they just weren't doing anything. Within B2C, I think initially what we saw when things first went into lockdown was, you know, people pulling back and just being very cautious just because of the uncertainty. But then it started to come back, depending on the sector, depending on the, you know, whether it was, whether, as I said before, you had, you know, people who were pure online versus people who were clicks and bricks. So we work with a large like online custom card retailer who, when everything locked down, couldn't buy birthday cards or greeting cards. They went absolutely crazy. They couldn't spend enough money. We work with a company that does home delivery, like subscription plant-based meals, and they had to turn off their marketing because they had too much demand. Whereas we had other clients where, and we were doing paid advertising for them. We had other clients where I guess it's a real mix. I think to try to draw some kind of general conclusion about the industry or B2C versus B2B, you know, you have some sectors within retail that were massively up. Things like beauty was up. Things like home and garden was massively up. Apparel down because people are sat at home, and, you know, but within apparel, slippers and loungewear massively up. So I guess it really depends. With B2B, we've not really seen, we tend to work with quite a lot of tech companies, software and tech companies, and we've not really seen a huge difference in either marketing mix spend or level of spend. That there was a bit of a dip at the beginning while people were finding their feet with the new world, or just waiting to see what was going to happen. But then things have gone back to more or less normal and got back to normal relatively quickly across the group of clients that we work with. We tend to work with larger clients, so we have a small sample size. You know, we have 60, 70 clients total. So some quite big ones in there. So I'm not talking about a huge sample size here, but it's really been a mixed bag. You know, trying to draw any kind of general conclusion from it is very difficult without looking at the detail.
Okay. All right, thanks, Chris. Alex, I'd like to ask the question to you though, but so you said at the start that you've got a background in sort of TV and print. Do you think that coming in the next, do you think the traditional medias are gonna make a comeback, or do you think that this is the final nail in the coffin? What do you think? Or do you think that this is just, are we moving to an economy where brands are basically just digital entities until I walk through the door of a physical bricks and mortar shop? What do I see in my home now? Is it just email? Is it what?
So I think unfortunately there is what we've seen over the last 6 months in terms of investment into TV and print is going to continue. I mean, the pandemic has been a catalyst for that change. I mean, it's been happening for a while, right? So, and I think, and it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, by the way. I think it's a question of the you know, and I guess what we're saying at the moment is, you know, whether it's B2C or B2B, or whether it's us as an agency or whether it's our clients, it all depends. It all depends on your your on what you are actually trying to achieve at the end of the day. And I think that's the tough thing for people to kind of get hold of. What is your objective? What does good look like? But what I'd say is, yes, it is going to be it's a bit of a watershed moment, if I'm honest, for traditional, and it doesn't mean it won't exist. And I think you think about, from B2B perspective, the value of trade publications. So Retail Week, as an example, or Campaign Magazine for us as in our industry, great publications. They don't do physical for campaign anymore, but I'm on there every single day. And I think for me, that when we think about the solutions for our clients, and certainly B2B ones, there is, you look at the move into partnerships. So partnerships, content partnerships usually, but they're not just content partnerships, they're partnerships with industry leading publications or websites as they are now. And then, and I think, certainly from a B2C perspective, what we've seen in our own data with our own client base is that affiliates really has been the driving the growth channel. I mean, PPC, outcome-based media, right? That's what's really been given the attention. And the problem with print and TV is it's not outcome-based necessarily. Now, some people might disagree with that, and there probably are examples where that's sometimes, depending on certain categories, that might be the case. But on the whole, it's not. And I think you look at affiliates, you look at some of the PPC, they're outcome-based channels, and that's where a lot of the investment, the intention has gone. And so the uptake in clients looking to affiliate channels, and that's B2B and B2C, because of the benefits of affiliates. You think about you don't actually pay for it until you've sold something. You can be really clear about what you're trying to achieve through there. So I think those are good examples for me. But to answer your question, it is a bit of a watershed moment, yes.
Yeah, okay. I would tend to agree. And I'm actually quite saddened by it because, it's that, we, at the end of the day, we are human and we touch stuff and we feel stuff, and we still walk into a shop, and even if it's the Apple shop, we still pick it up, don't we? What part of picking up that object makes that decision process easier, or what, when I'm picking up the iPhone, what's it doing for me, which I couldn't have got by looking online, but we still do it. Yeah, okay, I get it, I have to hold it, yeah, whatever. But still, we go into the clothes shop, we feel the fabric, we do. And this is how brands in the past used to relate that personality to me in my home or in my office. The quality of the output would usually reflect the quality of the product. And I can still do that digitally. Email, I can spot a good email or a well-constructed campaign a million miles off, and I'm super critical of how brands present themselves online digitally through email. But I am a little bit upset that we are going to potentially kiss goodbye to the catalogs that come through that purvey the quality of the merchandise. I like it. And I think a lot of people will be slightly saddened by that. One of the things that we've not really spoken about so far, guys, is the role of tech. And so obviously when I sort of outlined our budget plans for the next sort of 12 months, or where our focus is, one thing I didn't talk about was the use of technology. Obviously, Force24, we're a technology provider, so it doesn't sit on our P&L in the same way it sits on everybody else's P&L. It's just a given we're doing it. But when I look back at how we are now leaning on our technology, I can see that one of the things that we've done from a technique point of view is we've gone over and above on uber personalization. And so what I'm saying there is that I think the battlefield has got harder. The charts we were showing before says businesses are under pressure. They need to get the message clearer. We need a stronger reason to buy from you, whatever it may be. The battlefield has got harder to compete on. So it's gonna mean I either put more money into my marketing budget or I get smarter. So my question at this stage is, I know that automation is one of the big keys to having many conversations at scale at this sort of micro sort of personalization sort of aspect. And by the way, but I want to make very, very clear what personalization is. It's not high first name. God, no, that is not personalization. Personalization is anybody that's been on any of my webinars before, right message, right person, right time. That's personalization. Until you've got that, you can put all the first names you blooming want on an email. It's not the difference. Personalization is that. And actually, on some of our emails where we've hit what we class as uber personalization, we don't even put the first name on, just as a little, I don't know, just as a little joke, not a joke, because that'd be stupid. Who jokes in marketing? That's ridiculous. But in terms of, we don't need to do that because that's not what makes a difference. So anyway, point being, technology, we're leaning on technology. Force24 is going to go down a route of uber personalization. We don't have to pay money for it because it's our product, but we get everybody else does. Alex, I'm going to put it over to you first of all. I know one of the things that you've said, programmatic needs to get better. What's your views on that? How is twentysix going to be helping its customers get better at spending money on better personalization?
Yeah, I think you're right. The right place, right time, right message has been talked about since 2010, really, isn't it? The ability to deliver. Well, there we are. Oh yes, I think I remember that. I remember reading that somewhere. But I think it's about experiences. So I know it sounds cliche, but it is about the way that people use internet, the way that people engage with brands is experiences, and it's not just online because I think there's still a place, obviously, for physical stores, and people will want to touch and they will want to kind of try stuff on. They will want to take it back, and they want the human interaction, all of those things, and obviously that's quite difficult. But you need to cater for those. But I think in terms of tech, it is about the ability to kind of think about the insight of what you're getting. So when you think about, for example, we are Search Ads 360, we're a Google marketing platform and partner. Think about Search Ads 360. It's not the tech allows you to bid at in real time and with all the data you've got, and it allows you to make better decisions. The machine's going to make better decisions than any human. What's key is it still needs to make decisions. We still need to have a human impact from the agency, from the client, and it's about making the things that, and automation is a bit of a dirty word sometimes, because sometimes people think, oh well, if you're automating everything, why am I paying you to do this? But it's the competitive advantage comes out of how you deal with that the insights that come from that. And I think that the tech we use from a kind of a new customer acquisition perspective, such as Google Marketing Platform and DV360, so we're talking about programmatic, is really important. And it's a really important base level in order for us to then build upon, to then deliver a better service.
Yeah, I mean, this comes back to the point that our vision was understand the brand, pull the money back from the experiential, put it into the brand, understand the brand, make better decisions on that platform, right? That's essentially what we're saying, yeah. Yeah,
it is, and I think that so I think going back to where programmatic is an example. I mean, I think I was looking at an e-consultancy interview about 6 years ago, so October 2014, so exactly 6 years ago, and there's some of the these industry leaders making statements about programmatic, and some of them are way out there, and actually there's a few which talk about cookies and talk about it's more than just cookies, and actually it's the role of creative, and it's the role of again, audiences, and I think those things are not a given. You cannot rely on just tech to tell you what your audience is, or to help to decide for you who your audience is going to be all the time. You need to decide using tech, using insight tools, to be able to think about what your audience is, what is your point of difference. And for that, I do think that when we think about doing programmatic right, or and I think how do we improve upon that? It is the balance of creativity, which is really smart people thinking about their customer's journey. And what do they need to do in order to help them have a better experience ahead of their competitors in that particular category? And then it's using the tech to actually deliver that to the right place in the right time. So whether it's dynamic creative, or whether that's the ability to think about the context, so which publications are you engaging with? What environments are you serving those ads in? Is that ad going to be a video, or is it going to be a static image? Is it going to be location based? And I think you're just, there's no perfect. You're always going to be striving for perfect, but you're not probably going to get there. But what you've got to accept is it's a combination of those things. So the tech is critical, because without the tech and without something like, Google Marketing Platform as an example, it's very hard. So if you're just using AdWords these days, in my opinion, you're creating a lot of extra work for yourself. If you're just going out and buying your media through a third party, you know, and I can name a few, but you're not doing the work that you should be doing and an agency should be doing. And I guess even if you're in-house and you're planning on in-housing, these are the things you really need to embrace, because if you don't have that solid base of I guess that sort of solid base of delivery and insight tools and tech stacks, then unfortunately you'll probably all the other things you'll be working even harder to try and fit all the other things together. So it is, and I guess going back to the, you know, there is that, you know, there is things with regards to user experience on sites and on websites, but also one of the other points that's going to be is the people, it's the decision making, because there is lots of solutions out there which tell you that they're the best tech, they're the best, you know, and some people don't like Google, right? Some people don't like Google marketing platform. But the point is, I think what brands and agencies need to embrace is the decision making. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision about what tech you use, how you develop your audiences, what your customer journey looks like. And I think for that, it really does require some good human interaction.
I agree. I absolutely agree. So that actually leads me beautifully on to my next question to you, Chris, actually. So I want to put that same question to you, really, is that where's the role of technology in B2B, B2C going to be sat? And I also want you to elaborate on how is the team going to evolve? Because some of us are sat here as being, you know, sort of sole marketeers. Some of us are sat here as marketing directors. Some of us are sat here as, you know, people just starting out, people been there for ages. How, as tech starts to become more commonplace, how do you expect the client, how do you expect marketing departments to evolve and marketeers to evolve over the coming 12 months as a result of what's going on?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'd echo a lot of the things that Alex said about the, you know, the importance of tech. We're a partner on Google Marketing Platform as well. We're actually a sales partner, so we resell Google software both to agencies and to end clients. So there's a lot of implementation involved, and that's been a big thing for us over the past few years, and that's growing. The thing that you said at the beginning, Adam, about it being, you know, the battlefield's become harder. Tech is a distinguishing point, or not the tech in itself, but the additional insights that you get from the technology, the ability to you know, to understand performance and understand where you should be spending money, the ability to make more from your own data, you know, to personalize to your own point, all of those things, you know, if you're not doing those and your competitors are, you're a little bit behind the curve. And especially now where it's even more difficult to cut through the noise, that investment in technology just puts people on a whole different level. What we've seen is a bit of a transition, you know, alongside so other things the technology allows you to do, you know, the automation side of it is really, really good. I mean, even within the likes of Google Ads now, you know, the auto bidding technology in there is really good. And it does allow you to do more. So I guess we've seen a bit of a trend over time within our specialism, or our core specialism, which is search. So SEO and PPC, if you go back, you know, 5, 7, 10 years, there weren't really that many people in-house in client businesses who were search marketing specialists.
Yeah.
There was a total reliance on agencies because there just wasn't the skill or experience in the market. I think over time, as there's been more experience building in the market and there's more resource available, there's been a trend towards in-housing certain roles, not in-housing everything, but you'll find, especially larger businesses now, will have a SEO manager or a head of search or a head of performance or whatever. I guess that's changed the role of the agency over time. Now, the advances in technology have helped to fuel that, because you can do more in-house with automation now and by leveraging technology. And I think that's going to continue. I think that, you know, the role of the agency will have to change from being you know, we're sat there saying we need you to outsource everything to us, otherwise we're not going to make any money. We have a totally flexible delivery model where if you want to just buy technology from us, we'll just sell you the technology and you can do it yourself. If you want us to sell you the technology but support the technology, we can do that. If you want us to also do training, if you want consultancy as part of that, that's absolutely fine. On the service side of things, like if you want to build out your own PPC team internally, absolutely fine. We can help you recruit. You know, we're much better at doing interviews than a recruitment agency is going to be. We can onboard that person. We can train them. We can.
What you say there, we've probably got a few recruitment agencies on there.
Well, I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, we've done this for clients anyway, because we're good at finding good people because we need good people. So I guess, and especially with the you know, the uncertainty in the market and redundancies, potentially hiring freezers, potentially, you know, people moving around. There are going to be changing resource requirements within client businesses that we have to respond to. And I think our role as an agency going forward will be to plug those gaps with the best possible solution, whatever the situation may be, whether it's an outsourced solution, whether it's providing somebody to go and work on site, whether it's helping to recruit, and a mix of all of those things. But to come back to the point about the technology, I think it's become easier to do that because of the advances in technology, that people can in-house things and have really good technology to support that in-house team with the expert support that a specialist agency can provide, that I think we're always going to need. You know, you have a very siloed view of what you're doing if you sat in-house and into other people.
So do you think then that's going to open up the door to a wider variety of clients, because you're going to componentize the offering more? That sounds like what's going to happen. I want to plug and play. And actually, you know, you as an agencies tend to run on pitches. You know, you run on a pitch, you then run on, you've got your creds and you do your whatever. Do you think you might get to a point where you've got a price list?
You know what, it's a good point. And actually, in a lot of cases, we have got kind of a price list where we say to people, there's your menu.
What do you want?
Yeah, and you know, tell us next month if that changes and we'll change it. Because, you know, just selling somebody a retainer where you say, right, you've got a contracted 10, 15, 20 days a month from us, and that's not going to change for this service, just isn't fit for the uncertainty that we have at the moment. I think you know, to the point about does it open us up to other businesses, it absolutely opens us up to work with businesses where they have an in-house model. You know, there are certain businesses where we've found where they didn't want to work with agencies, and that's absolutely fine, but they need technology and we can provide the technology, and then we build a relationship and then we can support in some other areas. So I'd say for us as a business, it does allow us to spread that net wider just by being more flexible with, you know, what we provide, how we provide it, and the level to which we engage or don't engage with the internal teams.
I like it, and I like the model, and it's. I've watched your industries, with both your industries, sort of grow up considerably into proper businesses. I'm not saying your two businesses. What I mean is that what was a bunch of cowboys years ago having a go at it is now they're businesses that are loaded with process, governance, diligence, and it's great to see. And I think, speaking from Force24's perspective as a tech provider, you know, we sort of, our industry very much went along that line of, like, you know, it's all about shareholder value. I know that's an ugly thing to confess, but, you know, the likes of HubSpot, the likes of the big boys, it's not what the marketeer wants. It's what drives shareholder value. And that is all around getting you to do it yourself. And so whilst I agree in some parts, you should be empowered to do more stuff yourself, there is a point where it's like, yeah, but I'm not a chief cook and bottle washer. So, and I don't have the ability to onboard 10 different people right now. So it's this really difficult one where position. Now, I really like the idea of what you're suggesting from an agency point of view is, right, well, I have these things, but I just don't have this. I'm just going to sit and dovetail next to you guys, and we're going to just coexist harmoniously, and it's going to save me money, and everybody's good. And the thing is, that, you know, sat here right now as a tech provider, we've tried to break that a little bit and say, well, some of it you could do if you just knew a little bit more about it. It's not hard. Some of it you just shouldn't even do. If you're not a creative, you don't know about Photoshop, you don't even bloody touch it. Don't even touch it, because you're just going to make a mess, and this is your brand. You know, this is really important stuff. I always liken it, by the way, when I send out an email, if we send out an email to an audience of people, I liken it to a comedian on stage. I'm stood on stage and I'm about to tell you guys a joke. And let's think about it. it's a joke I've knocked up, and I'm not very good at knocking up jokes, and I'm sat in front of 10,000 people, you know, that's like the O2 or First Direct Arena, and I'm going to have a go. Do you imagine that? You just wouldn't do it. And because we're sort of protected by this barrier of like, people don't actually know me as the marketeer, they just know the brand, that's fine. So, you know, some of it won't land and some of it will land. But the point is that, you know, you do need to understand what you're strong at. You do need to understand it where to exist in this world, I don't believe you've got to be focused on yourself on tech. You've got to be able to embrace the big picture. The brand needs to understand where it wants to go, and it needs to appoint its partners appropriately and get them to dovetail in. The old way of, oh, we'll just do everything and give you a black box saying, you know, it's tick, yeah, it's done. There's a black box. It's gone. I think it's gone. So on this point, I'm gonna draw to a close, and we're gonna answer a couple of these quick questions. But I do want to say one of the points is, what is the future of webinars? This was, I did see the name of the person that asked this question. Somebody from, was it Konica or something like that? I can't remember. Whatever. Somebody asked the question that the name's got, but it doesn't matter. And it was like, what's the future of webinars? And, you know, as we've been on this, I specifically asked you those 3 questions. I asked everybody those 3 questions because I wanted to get a gauge of response, because you know all of those charts we were looking at before, it's the line of best fit that shows the direction of travel, which means that there is eventually, if it's going down, we're going to get to 0 or back to normal. Where it's going up, we're not, and it's going to take, it's just how quickly it all happens. Now, webinars, a lot of people have been saying, oh, well, I'm getting webinared out. Do you know, the point is, right? No, you're not. You're getting bored of shit webinars. I'm sorry for using the SH1T word on here, but that is the reality of this. It's not, I'm never bored of good stuff. You've just got to get better at doing this stuff. That's my opinion of this. So do I think it right? Okay, well, let's answer that question. 79% of you are sat at home, probably in isolation right now. I don't mean physical isolation. You know, you're probably sat in a room on your own, and the only people you're going to speak to today are a couple of your colleagues who you'll ring up or go speak to on Slack or whatever. So to do something like this, I know we've overrun, we're probably about to overrun a little bit, but to do something like this where it's lively and, you know, we've got a nice chat going on, why would you not? Sit it in the background. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be listening to every word. Why would it end? Right. The other point is, I said, do you feel better as a human being? And I asked that question because I wanted to get an understanding of the direction of travel. Yes, 67% of you said I feel better as a human being. And one chap said, yes, from a human point of view, no, from a colleague's point of view. So what that's saying to me there is 79% say they're at home. 67% said, I actually prefer it. And I think that's, you know, and that's saying to me, I think we've got a fairly flat trajectory here. I think the reality is those that are working at home will attempt to continue to do so for as long as they possibly can, because they feel as a human, they get a better life out of it and perhaps even do more work. And so there's benefits to it. And then the third question, what was my third? Oh,
commercially connected.
Commercially connected. And the answer was it was 48% no, we don't feel commercially connected. And I think maybe it's the phrasing of my question. But what that says to me is that I have a thirst that I haven't yet quenched. I still have not. I think my view personally is, are webinars going to be a digital channel for the future? Should we stop doing webinars? Yes, we should keep doing webinars, and we should just get better and better and better, just like what you guys do with your programmatic, just like you do with your SEO, just like you get better and better and better and better and better and better. And that is how it works. Now, we're going to get better at marketing our webinars. We're going to get better at holding our webinars. We're going to get better at follow-up from our webinars. And I also think what we're going to do is we as webinar people, you know, we'll have followers, and those followers would say, oh, I listen to podcasts. I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. I love it. I don't listen to anybody else's, but I listen to his. And I only listen to it when it's something of relevance, you know, when he's doing Elon Musk or something like that. I think it's quite insightful and it's quite fun. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm podcasted out. No, I'm not. I'm not Netflixed out either, because I still like Netflix. It's just I'm more selective in what I am. That's
Adam,
my
can I? No, I think it's an interesting one, because I think it you know, the question, are we webinared out? You know what? Everyone's doing webinars because, to your point, they're moving their budgets from what they did experientially to this. Now we've got quite a good turnout on this webinar, which is great. And I think, but some people might be really enjoying it. Some people, and by the way, I love it because it's got a kind of Saturday kitchen feel about it. Which I think
there was food though, Alex. I'd have the food as well if that was a bit.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But I think this is interesting. It brings it back to the conversation we're having about choice and decision making and in-housing and all the things, because I think people are bombarded with webinars to invite to, and I think anyone who looks at LinkedIn now could just fill their days joining webinars, reading stories. And I think you as a marketing person or as has to make a decision. Do I attend this one? Do I attend this one? Do I read this article? Do I follow this person? And the difficulty now is I think the same level of decision making, because there's a bit of a FOMO amongst marketing, and rightly so, because nothing stays in this industry stays the same for literally a week. Whether it be a new platform, whether it be that suddenly TikTok's available, no, it's not, or actually is there there's a brand new sort of a DSP out, or suddenly there's a new way of doing something, or there's a new sort of Mark Ritson article about share of search, or TV's dead, or whatever it might be. And I think there's so much FOMO going on. It's very hard for people to kind of fixate and to understand that, and you try and cover it all to pull out the selling points to either test your own hypothesis or to test your own kind of viewpoints. And that's difficult because you then rely on that trusted, you rely on some aggregator of webinars, maybe someone who's able to sit there and say, I'm a compare the webinar market kind of, and I'm going to give you almost like I'm an editor of a publication, the news in a way which you're going to come to me and you're going to trust me. Now, I do think though that this is an interesting debate, because this is also where we're at with I guess the choice you have as a marketeer now for your business. So this is what I mean. If you don't know what you're going into the webinar to get, you don't know what you're going into the market to achieve, what is your objective trying to achieve? If you're not crystal clear on that, or you don't have the support or the partners, whether they're agencies or whether it be friends or whether it be whoever it is, to be able to help you define what it is you want, you'll never find it. And I think that's the same for webinars. So I can imagine the people asking the question about who going, this is webinar fatigue. It's probably because they've just sat through lots of poor experiences, and they're sitting through this one going, I hope this is going to be better. And all I say is it is, because it does, again, Saturday kitchen feel minus food.
Well, that's what, that for me is what it's about. I hate boring stuff. So why do boring stuff? And
I think there's natural selection with webinars. There's going to be, like, the good ones will continue because they keep getting attendees and people don't drop off. The bandwagon will stop doing them because it's too much effort to have 5 people turn up and drop off. So.
Exactly. I often say at the start of I do these talks for a thing called Marketing Showcase. By the way, everybody needs to go there. It's awesome. Marketing Showcase. Google it. That's the best way to find it. I do these talks. There's a lot more sort of it's on a topic, and you do these talks. And I always start it with to say, look, as marketers, we're all sat in a world of conflicting advice, where often the advice is supplied without evidence and an agenda. And you've got to sit on these webinars and remember that, because I'm selling automation here, and you guys are selling what you sell. So I'm always going to have an agenda, but I always try to sort of flatten it and try to make it not about that. But it's difficult because we sell automation, and so we're obviously passionate about it. I used to sell ink cartridges when I was 17 and I left school, right? College did it for about 3 months over summer. And ink was like, I was ringing people, what do you mean you don't know how much ink's in your store cupboard? It's like, it's the most important. Well, imagine if your printers didn't print anymore. And to me, it was like the most important thing in my world, how much ink there is in your cupboard. And then to them,
I can beat that. I used to sell pest control equipment.
What the hell?
And I was so excited about killing flies every single time.
Bloody hell. Right, anyway, look, let's get on with this. Final few questions. I think we've covered a lot of stuff except the main question, actually. What's going to happen next year? And this is the interesting one. So, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to condense this, and I'm going to say, Chris, Alex, I want you to give me, in order of priority, where you think you would be recommending people invest at a top level in 2021, starting at the smallest, going up to the top. Now, just while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to see here if there's any other questions that don't sit in this. I mean, one thing we haven't really spoken about too much today, which we're going to cover on the next webinars, is obviously how the GDPR or the GDPR is going to play into these hands. But no, I think ultimately the sort of vein of the questions is very, what's the best marketing strategies for B2B post-COVID, blah, 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 what sort of outdoor media doing, how do do you want, right, Chris, do you want to go first, starting at the smallest, 5 up to the top?
I'm gonna do a blended answer to this with a bit of a cop out. What I'm gonna say is the first thing to do is, if you don't understand this already, spend some money on understanding where you should be spending your money. Like, that's the thing. Look at your data, work out what's working and what's not working, and use that to decide where you should be spending. That's the first thing I'd do. Great if you've got it in place, let the data tell you where to spend. I'd say the second thing, just as I know there are quite a lot of questions around B2B and where money should be spent. We've had a lot of success actually recently on paid social channels with, a lot of people think of LinkedIn as the main kind of B2B paid social channel. We've had a lot of success on Facebook over the past however long for B2B, but through overlaying third-party data and targeting people that way. And
that's interesting.
And the results that we're getting from that as a channel have been brilliant. And I don't know whether, a bit of it being the fact that everybody's sat at home on social media, but actually it's a really good way to get hold of people because they're on Facebook all the time. So I'd say if you're not doing that, have a look at that.
But that's a really interesting point, Chris, and actually thank you for bringing that to the table. I read somewhere, and please don't quote me on this, that on average, Facebook has seen 1 hour 45 per week extra time committed to its network. I don't know what the converse is on LinkedIn, because funnily enough, when I'm sat in the kitchen, I don't go to LinkedIn. I check Instagram and Facebook. So your point's really valid there, and thank you for taking that. And maybe, guys, I always say take one thing. And if that is the one thing, that's the one thing I'm going to be thinking about. So thank you for that. Is there anything to add?
If you want to know, we use a few providers for third-party audiences. So if anyone wants to know, just message in the chat or give me a shout and I'll tell you where we get them.
Or just go to SearchLaboratory.com.
Give us a shout.
Yeah. So go on, Alex. Where are you going?
So the 3 areas, and start with the third one, which is, I think it's investing in people. So whether it's your own people or whether it's the partners, it's about investing in thinking, investing in decision making. So it's a bit of what Chris was talking about. It's what data you have, what decisions, understanding what good looks like. And I think that for me really is about thinking like your consumers, putting yourself in their shoes, and investing in people to be able to do that, whether it's in-house or again via an agency, but do that. I think the second bit would be about links to digital transformation, which is bandied around a lot, but actually it's about thinking about your user experience. What is your experience on the channel, on your website, in your store? What's your user experience like across platforms, and really understanding that. And then the first bit, and I think the big sort of takeaway, hopefully what the crowd are looking for, is what's the sort of, where's the movement, where's the answer to the question, where's the money going to go, where's the marketing budget's going to go? It is programmatic. In my mind, there's no doubt. The move from traditional TV print investment, which we're seeing decline, even though more people are watching live TV, or not live TV, but TV, if you like, the TV in the room, we're seeing the marketing budgets move into those areas. And like I said before, I think programmatic, whether it be digital out of home, whether it be connected TV, whether it be banners, just MPUs across certain websites, or actually again some utilizing the social channels. The point is that's where the audiences are going. That's where the audience is spending time, and that's where we're able to join up that story. So if you're doing that really well and you're acquiring new customers through programmatic channel, and you're also doing the digital transformation piece, and you're also investing in your people, for me, 2021 will be amazing.
Yeah, Okay, I agree. So I agree because it plays into the hands of automation. Yay. Finally, just very quickly now, I think in the main, the questions that we've got have sort of been along that sort of where do you see it going, etc. One of the points that Govinda here, how best to demonstrate the value of investment when companies are tightening their belts. You know, this goes back to that whole point before, you know, as Alex is saying, as Chris has said, it's about the platforms are there to optimize the approach. What you say is the bit that's very important, and is the bit that Force24 is saying, look, it's all just a marketing argument. Businesses are tightening their belts. Doesn't mean they don't want more. So belts, just as they tighten, can unloosen. And it isn't a door that shuts and nobody will spend any money unless you're selling a luxury item. And actually, strangely enough, the luxury market's going crazy right now. So the point is, it's all just about the brand, the marketing argument that you use to execute. Then the platform that you execute that marketing argument on then plays a massive part. Final question, what do you envisage the biggest opportunity for automation post-COVID? Oh my God, that's a really big question. I could have spent a whole webinar talking about that. What's the next big opportunity for automation post-COVID? I think it's data insight and segmentation. I absolutely agree that programmatic is very much the next big thing. Not just the next big thing, it is the next big thing. And I absolutely agree that the traditional forms of medium are slowly dying, but I do believe that platforms like Force24, the marketing automation platform that we have, holds a wealth of data that you have at your fingertips based on what's happened through your CRM, based on what people have been doing on your website, that absolutely should be contributing to these platforms through powerful segmentation to help get better ads to better people. That's not the right word. People better, more able to spend more money with you. So what's the big opportunity? I think it's closing that gap between paid channels and direct channels. Okay, paid and direct should come together as a blend, and that is one thing that I feel is not happening now in the industry, and we've got to fix. We've got to fix it. So listen, guys, I think we're about out of time. Just want to say thank you very much for taking part. You've been great. The insight's been wonderful. Please go to www.twentysix, as in the letters, 26.co.uk.
26 Digital.
26digital.co.uk. I should have checked that, really, shouldn't I? Or SearchLaboratory.co.uk or .com.
Oh.
Just Google them. I'm sure they've done their job. I'm sure they know how to get your attention if you can just take their brand term in and go and talk to these guys. We're having the next webinar on the 15th of October, which is marketing data. Oh my God, Brexit, UK. Oh my God, Privacy Shield 2021. That sounds boring as hell. It's actually not. My mate Philip Allett and Paul Berwin from Berwin Solicitors. It's a really good talk, and we'll keep it as lively and fun as possible for you. So that's 15th of October. If you already signed up for this, you'll get invites and hopefully see you soon. So thank you very much, guys, and hopefully see you again soon.
Cheers.
See you later.
Thanks, Adam. Cheers, Alex.
Thank you very much.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.